Hey guys, I just wanted to pop in here real quick and let you know that this video was filmed before Shane Dawson put his statement out about leaving the beauty world, so it will not be mentioned in here at all. However, if you want to talk about it, hear my opinion, share your own opinion, let me know in the comments down below and we can talk about it on a live this Thursday. Okay, giving you the heads up. Enjoy the video.
What up? I'm Bea and welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great Tuesday today and you are ready to get into the latest drama surrounding Jeffree Star. There have been a lot of people speaking out about Jeffree over the past few weeks, and quite frankly, none of this information that's coming out is surprising to 99% of the people who aren't subscribed to him, who don't buy into everything he says. But I do think it's important to talk about. I was somebody personally who just a few months ago, back during the Shane Dawson Jeffree Star series, who wasn't necessarily a fan of him, but did want to support him, did want to see what he did in the YouTube world and the beauty world, and I bought into the story that was sold to me. And it took a few different stories coming out for me to actually realize this person is not who they are pretending to be. So while some of the stuff is just like, gosh, yeah, like we know, I still think it's important to talk about, because the more we talk about it, the more conversations we have, maybe the more other people will not be such diehard stans, and we can actually hold people accountable for the bad things that they have done and send the message that this type of behavior isn't acceptable. This type of behavior isn't okay for the type of people that we want to look up to and the people that we want to see succeed. You know, we're going to hold the people that are very successful, are very famous, have tons of subscribers. We're going to hold them to this higher standard. And that's what you got to be prepared to do if you want to put yourself in this position. That's my hope. We'll see what happens. Now, before we get started, I do want to give a big thank you to the members of my Off Limits crew, because this past weekend I did put up a poll to let them choose between two topics for this week's video, and this is the one they chose, so shout out to them for picking this topic. And if you want to be part of future decisions that are made on the channel, future topics that are discussed, and you want to be a part of an exclusive live stream that happens on the second Tuesday of every month, go ahead down to the comment section. I will leave a pinned comment with a link to join the Off Limits crew, join my channel membership. It is $1.99 per month, and it's a good time, so I do hope to see you in there. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into all of this mess. Let's start with Tab David. So back in February, Jeffree Star and various friends took a trip to Vegas, hung out, had a good time. Tab was there. He's known Jeffree for 10 plus years. They've worked on different campaigns together. They've known each other for a long time. And he put this video out talking about his experience on that trip and just talking about different things that made him uncomfortable. And a lot of people say that maybe he did this for clout, but I don't necessarily know that that's the case, because he did take it down. He said, I don't want you to follow me. I don't want you to like find me on Instagram. This isn't for fame. This is just because I need to speak out about something that I think is wrong. So when it started getting a ton of attention, he took it down, ended up giving it to Sanders Kennedy, and Sanders Kennedy re-uploaded the video in full, so it is still available if you would like to watch it. I will link it down below. One of the biggest takeaways from this is that Jeffree is still using ethnically and racially insensitive language. Jeffree has said, you know, I used to talk like that. I used to use language like that. I've changed. I'm better. I'm not racist. I don't have any prejudice towards X, Y, or Z group. But people who know him in his personal life, who aren't just like business friends, people who actually personally are around him, have said this for years. They keep coming out and saying that these words are being used. Jeffree is using this type of language. And I think part of the reason that a lot of people are hesitant to believe it is because there's this kind of idea that people want to hold on to. I think that Jeffree was like that in the past. He's not like that anymore. He doesn't use that language anymore. And so when people come out and say that he's used it within the past year or whatever, they want to say, oh, people are just saying that because it's an easy target, because it's easy to say that and try and take Jeffree down. That's the only reason they're doing it. But if that many people are coming out saying that Jeffree is saying similar things, I think we kind of got to go like Occam's Razor with it. You know, the most obvious answer is usually the right one, and it's that Jeffree is still using disparaging language towards different racial groups and different ethnic groups. The way I kind of see it is that it's not that Jeffree is mean towards certain people or dislikes certain people because they are Black, which is a common accusation that happens, or because they are Jewish. I think it's that he uses that language because he doesn't like that person and they're part of that group. And that's not to say that it's right. I'm just somebody who likes to really dig into stuff like that, and that's more how I see it. That's my perception of why he uses language like that. But at the end of the day, in either situation, it's hateful language, and he uses it because he's mad at certain people or mad about certain events. So the situation specifically that Tab was referencing was the fact that they were supposed to go to a Gwen Stefani concert. It ended up getting canceled. Jeffree was mad, and from what I took from the story, it was that he called Gwen Stefani a term that is very derogatory towards Jewish people. And it, quite frankly, hearing that like really took me aback, because I know what the word is. I've heard the term before, but I've always heard it in like a historical sense. I've never seen it used like on social media or in my personal life and in an interaction with anybody. I've never seen it used in that sense. It's always been historical. And so it's very interesting because it is quite an obscure term from my perspective. So it's interesting that that's something that would just be readily available in his vernacular. But that is just part of Tab's story, because Tab also mentioned that they were spending some time with an unnamed friend, and when that friend left, Jeffree was making fun of them, specifically their skin and their weight. So Tab said that, you know, that's not his gig. He doesn't tolerate people bullying others, essentially, and so he brought it up to Jeffree, and Jeffree apparently said, oh, it's fine, this person talks like that about themselves online all the time anyway. And so a lot of people are speculating that this is Trisha Paytas. She was on that trip. There have been videos where Trisha like will make fun of her hair for being super short, or say like her skin looks really bad, or she'll be like stuffing my fat face with this and like post videos about it. And so that's kind of like the most likely person, although Tab was very careful about not saying name or gender. But at the end of the day, who it was doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that Jeffree is waiting until somebody leaves to poke fun at them, to make fun of them. Because thinking about my experience with my own friends, we are a very self-deprecating bunch. Like, we will make fun of ourselves, we will make fun of each other, we will like literally go for the gut, but that's because we know that the other person has a sense of humor where they will think it is funny, where like they can laugh at themselves, I can laugh at myself. That's just the type of humor that we have. However, if one of us were to be with a different group of people, or to go outside of that group and say those same things, even if they're just a joke, that would be different. If you wanted to make the joke, you would have done it while this person was in the room. Waiting until they leave, that stops it from being like a good-hearted joke that you know your friend would be okay with. That changes it into you talking smack about your friend, which I honestly don't think anybody is surprised by, but Rich Lux is trying to defend it, because Tab also said that, which this is interesting to me, Rich Lux is the only other person that Tab named in this video, so I don't know what that is about, but like everybody else, he was like, oh, I won't say names, I'm not gonna say names, but then he says, Rich Lux came up, like, that's odd to me. But anyway, Rich Lux comes in, he's got a gift for Jeffree from Hermes. I don't know what Jeffree's reaction was when Rich gave it to him, but Tab says that, Rich was in there for 15 minutes probably, and then he left. And then as soon as he left, Jeffree was like, oh my God, he had to get me the cheapest thing from Hermes. I already have this. And was basically crapping on the present. And when Rich Lux responded to this in his video, he said, like, that's a joke. That's a joke. That's the same kind of humor that I have. It's funny. But my question is, if it's a joke, if it's all in good fun, why is Jeffree waiting until you leave the room to say it? It's no longer a joke. It is literally just being mean at that point. If it was a joke, if you thought it was funny, if it wasn't meant to be offensive or hurt the other person's feelings, you would say it in front of them. Because I could see Jeffree and Rich having that type of humor, making those jokes and being okay with them, Some people are okay with those jokes and some people aren't. But I could see them both enjoying that type of humor. So if he said it while he was in the room, no big deal. As long as nobody's offended, that's fine. But when you wait until he's gone, it just takes on a completely different meaning. So those are basically the main things that people are talking about within that video. There were also disparaging comments made about illegal immigrants and a story that Tab told where he was borrowing a pair of pants from one of Jeffree's security guards because Jeffree wanted him to go to this club with them. Tab was wearing sweatpants. He's like, can't wear sweatpants to a club. I'm good. I think I'm going to go. And Jeffree was like, no, you can just borrow these pants. So they go over there, and the security guard apparently used to work for Miami PD and was fired for using the N-word on the job. He got fired for it, and Jeffree apparently, allegedly, contacted this person, brought him out to LA, and now works for him as a private security guard. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's just a rumor, something Jeffree made up. Like, I literally don't know if it's something Tab made up, but that is also something that was said that I thought was very interesting. Now, the second video that people are really talking a lot about was made by Cam Lester. Cam is a black boy in beauty. He has a bit of a smaller circle of influence, and he went on Instagram to speak out against Jeffree Star. Now, the two biggest things from this video were the fact that Jeffree was very vocal at this time about his dislike for James, and this was roughly 3 months before Tati made her Bi Sisters video. Jeffree was very vocal about it. Cam felt uncomfortable because he didn't have a dislike for James. He said that James has helped him before and was always kind to him, was always professional to him, and so he liked James, he liked Jeffree. He didn't have a problem with either, but he felt very uncomfortable because it was very obvious that Jeffree had a problem with James. And then to add on to that, he also said that he heard Shane Dawson call Jeffree screaming about James, essentially. And here's the thing. We know Jeffree's done shady stuff. Like, obviously, duh, we know this. But I do have to kind of question why Cam is coming out with this. I mean, I think it's very brave to speak out against somebody who has such a large sphere of influence. It can't be easy. But I'm really just wondering why. And I think it's because at this point, the tide is kind of turning against Jeffree. Like the tide of public opinion. Because for a long time, it was really taboo to talk about Jeffree. You would get a lot of hate. You would get a lot of people coming into your comments saying just horrible, disgusting things. And so a lot of people tended to avoid it because they just didn't want that. But I feel that lately it has become more acceptable to do so. And I feel like this is kind of what gave Cam the thought or the idea to put this video out, because a lot of what he talks about is the fact that he wanted to remain in Jeffree's good graces to further his career. And now he's talking about it because the things that Jeffree did weren't okay. But I'm like, as long as you were benefiting from knowing Jeffree, from being friendly with Jeffree, you didn't say anything. Like, it's been a very long time since these incidents happened. It has been over a year. And so I just find the timing of it very, very curious. And this part that I'm going to quote to you is also very odd. And we'll talk about it in a second. So he talks about how Shane calls Jeffree. He's yelling about James Charles. Like, he's like, oh, I've never heard him mad like this, whatever. And here's like the exact quote of how Cam told this story. when we were in the hotel and I was in his hotel and we were just chilling, we were talking to Rich Lux again and a few other people, and I was talking to Jeffree, and I remember Shane Dawson called and he was going off about James Charles and something and telling him something, like just cursing James out, and I was kind of taken aback because I've never seen Shane Dawson like that. And he was just going in on James, and I was like, there's something like brewing here, like something going on with James and Shane and Jeffree. So I was just uncomfortable, and I was just like, I'm going to stay over here. And so the way that he talks about it, it's like he said he was cursing out James, which I don't know if that's just kind of like a slip of the tongue and saying like, you know, he was cussing James, he was yelling about James, he was mad at James, he was swearing in his displeasure about James to Jeffree, or what? Like, it seemed like maybe something was being a little bit exaggerated or fabricated in this. I don't know. You tell me what you think, but that's just how I felt. And I kind of feel like this may be, like this part specifically, please don't come for me, is Cam kind of trying to insert himself into drama that he wasn't necessarily a part of. Cam is talking about how he could have, you know, said something to James, but how would you have said something? What would you have said? Like, hey, Shane Dawson's mad at you. Like, there's no way you knew that something was going to happen unless you heard them say directly that they were planning something against James, in which case, I mean, everyone has their own moral standards, everyone has their own opinion on things, but if you know that they are planning to propagate false rumors, really damaging, harmful rumors about somebody especially who has been so kind to you and has helped you, it's really, really shady that you wouldn't say anything. Of course, this is just my speculation. This is just where I'm standing from this now. He could have just had a feeling that maybe something was up and he was, you know, talking himself out of it. Like, oh, this is nothing. Don't worry about it. Don't say anything. But just the way that he phrased it is really odd to me. I will say that it wouldn't surprise me, though, to hear Shane calling and screaming about somebody, because we've seen, you know, Shane has this kind of persona of being just like this really emotional, sad boy who's so depressed and so sensitive, and I'm crying for you, and I just want everybody to be happy and love each other. I don't want to be mean, but like, that's such a fake persona. And I'm mad that it took me such a long time to realize it, because I kind of thought that like, oh, he met Ryland, they're falling in love, he's becoming a more sensitive person. Like, we know who Shane is. We've seen who Shane is for the past 10 years on YouTube. And this little 2-3 year blip of him putting on this persona isn't an accurate depiction of who he is. We see the accurate depiction of who he is when he's yelling at people trying to fix the Shopify website. We've seen who he is when people have questions or complaints about his content and he goes off on them and tells them that they should be grateful for what they get. Because I do agree, people should be like grateful for free content, but Shane overpromises things a lot of the time and then doesn't follow through on them. And then when people ask him about it or criticize him for it, he goes off. We've seen this happen. And it really does bother me that like I bought into this persona. I bought into like, poor Shane, oh, like he's so sensitive. Oh, he's so poor in relation to all of his friends. He's the underdog. No, he's not. He was like the king of YouTube for a long time to many of us. We should not have, like, we should treat Shane as a human being, don't get me wrong, but like we should not feel bad for Shane in so many of these situations when we often do. Shane knows what he's doing. He's a man in his 30s. He's grown. He knows what's up. So that's kind of like a side note, but that's gonna bring me to the next point, which is the Ashley Kyle video. A few days ago, Ashley Kyle put out a video about being on Jeffree Star's payroll. Before we go further in this, I want to point out that when people say different creators are on Jeffree Star's payroll, they're not saying, well, in most cases. They're not saying that they believe Jeffree Star is actually cutting checks to these creators for not talking about him. What they're saying is, you have aligned yourself with this person, and because of it, you are receiving certain tangible benefits. You are receiving PR. You are receiving good mentions from Jeffree. You are receiving increased ad revenue because maybe you're getting some inside information, so you're getting your video put up before other people. You have these benefits from being aligned with this person that if you weren't, you wouldn't have. That's how I see it. It's like a metaphor. It's not saying literally you are on their payroll, you know, like Jeffree Star is cutting you a paycheck and it gets deposited every 2 weeks and he's taking out your taxes. Like, it's metaphorical language, which a lot of people don't seem to kind of comprehend, or they don't want to think about it like that. They just want to stick to the very literal definition, which I don't see it as. But having said that, Ashley went on to show different text messages between herself and Jeffree, and essentially said that because she had this friendship with Jeffree, she was alerted to the drama that was going to be happening with James, and so she was on the lookout for this drama, and then in that she was able to get her video up faster than others because she had her eye on it. Her video was essentially showing that both Jeffree and Shane, through what Jeffree was saying, knew about the video that was going to be happening, knew about Tati's bi-sister video that was going to come out, and they were like on the inside of it. They were part of the inner workings of creating Dramageddon 2. And quite honestly, it is disappointing to think that both Jeffree and Shane were part of sort of putting this together, putting this like storm of falsehoods and horrifying accusations against James Charles together. But it's not surprising that Jeffree is texting drama channels, talking smack about other people, trying to get inside information, saying like, oh, you tweeted about this, what was it about? Or basically just talking smack about other influencers. That's not surprising. And I think it is good that, you know, Ashley shared this because it'll help back up Cam. But I have a problem with the way that Ashley represented herself in the video. And I don't know how popular of an opinion this is going to be, because I've seen a lot of people supporting her and coming out and saying that, like, you know, it's really great that you spoke out, this is amazing. And I do like Ashley, you know, I enjoy her videos. I think she's a very relatable drama channel, and so I do like her. But the way that she presented this was that she didn't realize that she was being given this inside information to help take somebody else down. She didn't realize that, you know, Jeffree was feeding her information in order to get her to do things that he wanted her to do, because she just thought that they were friends. And I don't think that's true. She showed a lot of text messages between the two of them, and in my opinion, those look like there is a massive power imbalance in between them, because Jeffree would come at her and say, ugh, like, I wonder when someone's gonna expose James for getting his butt done. Can't believe it. Such a waste. All for Coachella. Pathetic. And Ashley just sends like the T eyes of like the ooh, like that emoji. And in her video, she's like, I don't care that James has plastic surgery. Like, it's not a big deal to me. That doesn't bother me. And so when I see that, it's like, you're afraid of upsetting Jeffree. You don't care about what it is he's talking to you about. And instead of being like, well, you know, I don't think plastic surgery is a big deal, so whatever, you send something without having to compromise yourself too much, but that will still keep him happy and keep him talking. You didn't see him as a friend. You saw him as a great connection, as an ally, as somebody who you could get something from, and as somebody who got something from you. There are very clear benefits of having Jeffree Star on your side, and I think Ashley knew that, and I think she was a lot more aware of the situation than she wants to admit. And I do think it's great that she's coming out and talking about this now, but I also don't think she's being completely honest with her audience. And I've seen other people saying like she's felt terrible about this for months, she's struggled with it so hard, and maybe she has, but in my eyes, what she came out with, that video, that's not taking accountability for her part in tearing somebody down. Because the thing is, like, James Charles is thriving. James Charles is massively wealthy. People aren't necessarily like talking about him all the time in such a negative way anymore. He's had a bounce back. But can you imagine being 19 and having just this storm of negativity, of accusations leveled against you? Whether they're true or not, whether they're partially true, I think there's truth to some of them. I think Tati was disgruntled with him as a friend, and she didn't like the way that he was speaking about other people and like the sexually explicit language that he would use. Like, I believe that. I believe it made her feel uncomfortable. Tati seems to be a very like prim and proper person, so I do believe that. But some of the other things were just out of pocket. They were out of line, and people took part in tearing this 19-year-old down. And I want to say kid. I know people will be like, oh, he's 19, he's not a kid. I think you're a kid at 19. I truly think you are. I think you're aware of your actions, you're accountable for your actions, but when it comes to stuff like this, like, you're a kid. He's not somebody who has had experience in all of this internet hate. He's not somebody who is prepared to mentally deal with the insane amount of negativity that is being thrown his way. Nobody can be, but especially at 19, like, I just feel especially bad. As you get older, it gets easier to like tune certain things out, but those like words can really, really affect you at that age. And so Ashley took part in this. Ashley, as an adult, as a mom, made $37,000 from putting out videos attacking James Charles. Maybe not attacking, but spreading a false narrative about James Charles. And she wants to say that she did it because she thought that she and Jeffree were friends, and she was taking the word of her friend. And I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. Moving on. Sometime between the years of 2004 and 2006, there was a URL registered to Jeffree Star called Lipstick Nazi. And on that web page, you can't see the video, or you can't see the photo on that web page anymore when you use the Wayback Machine. It was a graphic image of Jeffree Star committing self-harm. Now, some people say that this website was supposed to be his first makeup line. Jeffree says, no, that's not the case. It was like a LiveJournal landing page, which would have just been a page to share different personal photos. I don't know which is correct. It quite frankly doesn't matter. Now, there are two things that people have a problem with when it comes to this web page. Basically, the only two pieces of information I've given you: the name, Lipstick Nazi, and the photo of self-harm. Now, people have talked about the Lipstick Nazi term being used by Jeffree for quite a while, but it is kind of getting the most amount of attention as of late. And I'll be quite honest, when people started talking about it, getting angry about it, I didn't quite get it. I think back to like junior high, high school, where in a classroom you could say, oh my gosh, you're being such a grammar Nazi. And that was the most common way like I'd heard blank Nazi being used. You know, you think about Seinfeld, which Jeffree Star pointed out, the soup Nazi. And so calling somebody like a blank Nazi didn't seem like a big deal to me. You could say that without getting in trouble. You could say that and still like not be considered a bad person, so I don't get why it's a big deal. Further thinking about it though, and thinking about the way that other people used soup Nazi, grammar Nazi, whatever, it was that you were using it to call somebody out. You were using it to say, you're being bad and here's why. Like, I don't like this thing that you're doing. And even in Seinfeld, the soup Nazi character isn't a character that you would like if you encountered in your everyday life. He's like super strict, he's really rude to you, you have to like put your money on the counter, step to the left, be really quick about it, and if you complain, you get your stuff taken away. Like, he's not somebody that you would like. So Jeffree's saying Lipstick Nazi is just somebody who really loves makeup, and I'm a lipstick Nazi. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why you would identify yourself as a lipstick Nazi. And so I think this is just another thing where Jeffree Star doesn't care. Jeffree Star doesn't care about other people's feelings. He comes out and says like, oh, it's a terrible word. I can't believe I ever said it. There's no excuse. I don't think you care. Like, I don't think you care that you said it. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know that one of my biggest pet peeves is like a fake apology. If you're not sorry, don't say sorry. Don't lie. Don't patronize people and pretend to be sorry or remorseful over something that you're not. Because the most annoying thing in the world is a fake apology. That was bad. I don't know why you would want to identify yourself as a lipstick Nazi, but I do think it's kind of a waste of time to focus too much attention on the lipstick Nazi website because we know that Jeffree's racially insensitive. He's proven it time and time again. What we should really be, I guess, caring about and focusing on is what he's doing now. He's no longer using lipstick Nazi. That URL doesn't exist anymore. It's just another example of his insensitivity. Let's add it to our proof. That shouldn't be the main topic of conversation because we have so many more recent examples. Next, the photo of self-harm. I don't know, man. I literally don't know what to say about it. In his statement about this whole thing, he said that he tried to erase the horrible images of me self-harming from the internet, but you can literally see that same picture in a music video that he made in 2012 for his song Prom Night. So again, it's like fake disgust over his past actions, saying, I can't believe I took those pictures. I'm trying to erase them from the internet. Nah, you thought that they were edgy and they were cool at the time, and you were like, oh, this is gonna be so extreme, like this is gonna shock people, and it did. Mission accomplished. A lot of people probably ignorantly thought it was cool at the time because of the scene that he was in. Again, it's a terrible thing. He lied about feeling bad about it, but it's something that happened a while ago. Like, I have a problem with people focusing on things from the past when there are current things you're doing that are just as bad, that should be addressed. Like, it kind of takes away from the importance of the bad acts that are happening now. One of the biggest examples of this is a picture Jeffree took with somebody wearing a Confederate flag. It looks like a haircutting cape. I don't know if it's an actual flag or what, like around their neck, and they're turned away and he's posing next to it so you can see the Confederate flag. And people are so upset about the picture. They're so upset. They're so angry. Do you think that Jeffree Star is the type of person that people who in this day and age hold the Confederate flag near and dear would accept? Do you think he's the type of person they want aligned with their community? Do ya? Because I don't. I think it was taken for shock value. Jeffree said it was taken because it was funny, because it's like, oh, I'm so gay. Well, let me take a picture next to this because it'll be funny because I don't align with their views. Like, I'm not the type of person that they would want to be promoting the Confederate flag, which I don't even know why people are so like protective over the flag. It's like the Confederate Army lost. Like, you're proud of that? I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. But in any case, I don't think him taking that picture is indicative of any true core values that he has as a person. I don't think it's that deep. I think he took it because he thought it would be funny and he thought it would be shocking. And guess what? It was. That's the end of it. Like, Jeffree Star is currently doing things that are bad, that we should not accept, that we should not tolerate from somebody who is such a massive presence in our community. And I want to focus on those things. People can bring up all this stuff from his past, and that's fine. You know, it supports the arguments. It proves that, you know, who he was back then is very similar to who he is now, and he hasn't changed, and that's great. But that should be like our backup evidence. That shouldn't be what we focus on now. What we should focus on now is the people that he pretends to be friends with, who he then talks badly about to drama channels. What we should be focusing on is false allegations that he leveled at an up-and-coming beauty influencer who threatened to take his place in his eyes. Jeffree Star is an icon. You know, as he gets older, his influence on this particular platform might lessen and lessen and lessen, but there's room for like a lot of people in this community. Just because someone else is succeeding doesn't necessarily mean they're coming to replace you or take your spot. But Jeffree Star, a man in his 30s, felt so threatened by a 19-year-old that he allegedly took part in this orchestrated plan to take him down. Now, he went out of his way to talk to drama channels, to talk to the public as a whole, to tweet about false allegations against this person that he knew were false. Jeffree Star, to this day, can't get it straight whether or not he did actually see Davi Vanity assault somebody, and will not take any accountability for his part in either seeing it and not saying anything about it, or not seeing it and lying about it for some unknown reason. And then talking to Chris Hansen and further spreading lies and essentially just taking over the interview to make himself look good, which none of us bought. Jeffree Star is currently using derogatory language. Jeffree Star is currently snapping at fans. Jeffree Star is currently asking people who decorate his mirrors, oh my god, that's so beautiful, can you send it to me and I'll pay you or I'll send you PR, getting the mirror and then not sending PR. Jeffree Star is currently snapping on anybody who has a criticism of him that he does not like and blocking them. So that way when he posts something on Twitter, it's mostly positive because so many different people who have criticized him are blocked. This is current behavior that is happening. These are current things that are going on, and it's not okay. And so I think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to bring up. All of these allegations, all of these things coming out, they don't feel new to me. It feels like the same old allegations that have been thrown at Jeffree for forever. But they are coming from new sources. So I think that's important. You know, somebody could hear one person's story about something bad Jeffree's done, not believe it, hear it from somebody else, not believe it, hear from somebody else, not believe it. But then that fourth time that somebody brings it up, it's finally chipped away at them enough to say, hey, maybe there's something to it. Hey, maybe we should hold him a little bit more accountable. And that's, I guess, the goal. That's what I would like to see. I have like a soft spot in my heart for Jeffree. I want to see him succeed. I think because I can kind of empathize with how hard it might have been to grow up in his circumstances, like just familial wise, and then additionally being so different, being a man who's very effeminate, who wears wigs and dresses and doesn't fit into a certain box that most people would want him to fit into. I can empathize with how hard that must be. Well, I can sympathize. I can never imagine how that would feel, but I can sympathize with that. And so I want to see him succeed. I want to see him feel loved and feel good. But at the end of the day, you can only root for somebody for so long. At some point, it's going to be up to them to actually do the inner work, to do what they have to do to address their own issues and to make their life better, to make their actions better, to hold themselves to a higher standard. And the thing about Jeffree is he doesn't see anything wrong on the surface. I think he knows deep down because he's somebody who constantly tells you how happy he is, how wealthy he is, how much he's thriving. And people who are happy, wealthy, and thriving don't need to tell you how much they are all the time. But that's essentially all we hear from Jeffree. So that was a lot. I feel like I've been talking forever, but there were so many different parts of this whole current topic that I wanted to go over with you. And so that's all I have for today. Definitely let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know what you thought about Tab's video, Cam's video, Ashley's video, and literally everything in between down in the comments down below. And if you would consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel, that would be incredible. If you're subscribed already, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you, and I love being able to just sit here, hang out with you, and talk about whatever. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Please be kind to people, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.